Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
We need to roll back the state. We spy on all of our own citizens. Our prisons are flooded with nonviolent drug offenders. If you want to know who America's next enemy is, look at who we're funding right now. Every single one of these problems are a result of government being way too big.
You're listening to Part of the Problem on the Gas Digital Network. Here's your host, Dave Smith.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Part of the Problem. I am Dave Smith. He is Robbie the Fire Bernstein. What's up, brother? How you feeling today?
I've been trying to put things together before I head on the road, and I really don't like household stuff. I want to get rid of my apartment. I don't know where I'm going to live, but I just want to be done with having a place.
Wait, you want to downgrade from an apartment? You're moving toward homeless? That's your solution?
I want to somehow downgrade from like a one-bedroom to like maybe a studio.
A
and
park
work my
bench?
way down to...
I feel like you could really keep a park bench neat.
Yeah.
This is what this is why God pulled a rib out of your rib cage and made a woman. Okay? This is why you need to get yourself a good lady. Ladies out there listening, I know it's not the majority of our audience, but ladies out there listening, Rob needs a good woman. Light housework will be required. You're gonna have to be cool. You got to give him some space. Every now and then, Rob needs to just go take a walk. He doesn't want to answer a bunch of questions about it. You're going to have to accept that. Don't worry, Rob. I'm going to hook you up. I know you, bro.
There you go.
Then, but if you could keep a one-bedroom apartment in order, you're going to be just fine. You'll always have he's got plenty of green screens to go around. You need an extra green screen? Your man Rob's got you. All right. Well, where are you going that you're getting ready for, Rob?
We got Hawthorne, PA, Pittsburgh, PA this weekend, and then Virginia's, Norfolk, Virginia, Virginia Beach, Richmond, and then off to Texas. So got a whole bunch of Porch Tour coming at you.
Hell yeah, and I will see you out there at the end in Texas. That'll be the weekend I'm doing the Comedy Mothership. I was just talking, I think Lewis is going to come out for a little bit of that too. So
look at that.
Louis J. Gomez, Robbie the Fire Bernstein, everybody will be out there. Come hang out. Come meet us all. And then we got a bunch more stuff coming up. ComicDaveSmith.com. Me and Rob are going to be on the road a lot for the rest of this year, for the rest of this crazy year. And of course, things are really kicking into full gear here in the political season. We will this show. We're not going to talk so much about the presidential election and the debate because we're going to do that on a live stream and on subsequent shows. So let's get into some other stuff. This video is freaking priceless. And I just thought it was, when I saw it, I was like, oh, we have to just break this down and kind of respond to it. But so my boy, Tucker Carlson, is over in Australia. He was going over there. Well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say it's public knowledge, but whatever. He's over there in a big, someone very important just went to Australia. So, anyway, Tucker was over there and I guess he gave a talk, kind of like a press conference type thing, where he took questions from Australian media. I will confess, I do not know a lot about the domestic politics of Australia. I think I speak from most of the world when I say that. We became aware of the fact that Australia was one of, if not the most tyrannical, COVID insanity countries. Maybe not the most. I know there's countries like China and stuff like that, but they were pretty goddamn bad in Australia. And that became kind of well known in American politics, like some of the more egregious quotes about unvaccinated losing their rights and crazy quarantine policies and stuff like that. But it was interesting to hear from some of the reporters over there, really fascinating in a way, where you go, oh, whatever the corporate media virus is, they have caught it over there. Their reporters are as infected as ours are. Did you see any of this, Rob? It was, an hour or so speech. I thought it was just fascinating and great.
I sent the clip last night at like 2 a.m, and I just have to imagine that this is this.
Oh, I didn't even see that
clip.
Did you send a clip at 2 a.m?
I've never seen a better dismantling of
Yes,
someone
we
trying
obviously
to reframe your racist position. So this was
Oh, this
glorious.
is, yes, obviously this is the same clip. How did I miss that you...
It's all good. Maybe I sent this to
clip?
someone else.
Did you email it to me? You definitely didn't send it in our text thread.
I don't know. I was all flustered trying to clean.
Yeah, there you go. This is why Rob needs a woman. I didn't get that video at all. Okay, so yes, 100% we're talking about the same moment. By the way, there were several great moments in this. I highly recommend it. Tucker put it out on his Twitter and his YouTube page. You can go watch the full thing. But this was the best moment of the whole thing.
So much for your address today. So you talked a little bit about immigration, and in the past you've talked about how white Australians, Americans, Europeans are being replaced by non-white immigrants in what is often referred to as the Great Replacement Theory. This is the same.
Have I said that whites are being replaced?
Well,
I don't think I said that.
well, it's been mentioned on your show 4,000 times, and
Really, when did I say that?
on your
I
show
said
on
whites
Fox?
are being replaced?
You have said that before.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so just pause it right here.
challenge you to-
So, of course, Tucker, she starts off with a not at all inflammatory question, which is, this is how the game goes, right? And she goes, you've said this, a thing Tucker has not said, and then just proceeds to the question. Of course, this has a heavy implication that you're some type of bigot. You know what I mean? I can tell you, as somebody who regularly watched Tucker's show when he was on Fox News and regularly watches his show since he's been on his own network and on X, that's not true. Tucker is not. What Tucker has said over and over again is that they, through massive waves of immigration, are attempting to replace the domestic population. Not white people, the domestic population. And of course, that is a huge difference. There's a very different, first of all, it's like they talk about this in their own words, as we've discussed on the show before. But look, if I were to say you're replacing Americans, obviously that's a very different statement than saying you're replacing white people. Because if I'm talking about Americans, I'm talking about a whole lot of black people and Hispanic people and Asian people and African, everything. And so your concern is not just for white people. Your concern now is for a very multiracial, multi-ethnic, diverse group of people. That changes things. It's like, if it didn't change things, why would she change it? And then, of course, she uses this bullshit tactic where I'm sorry, I blanked on the number, but he goes, when did I actually say that? And she goes, you've mentioned it 700 times on your show. But of course, whatever number, it wasn't 700, but whatever she was saying, but it's not, when she says you've addressed it is not the thing she said. It is the thing Tucker actually said. So just starting off right away with just very obvious dirty tricks.
Well, it's amazing how dismantling it was for him just to say, can you actually provide evidence that I made that statement? And, you would think if you wanted to start off with this conversation, you would have brought that.
Or let's just say you had a shred of integrity, right? A shred of honesty, just a shred of basic human shame, that when you go, hey, you've said that you care about replacing, or that immigration is replacing white people. And he went, oh, I don't think I've said white people. And then you go, oh, okay, not white people, but you've said the domestic population. You know what I mean? Like, okay, just admit that. Okay, fine. That's true. You didn't exactly say white people. And if you don't know that, what the hell are you doing asking this question? This is the most basic thing I mean, this isn't even like journalism 101. This is like before you enter the door of 101. If you're going to stand up there and say, sir, you've said this in the past, the job is to have looked into this already and know that he said this in the past. I mean, just like imagine you're getting, okay, so you are somebody who calls themselves a reporter or a journalist or whatever, and you have the biggest political commentator in America coming to Australia, and you're going to open with, you, sir, have said this. It's not on you to have actually found the firsthand source of him saying that. I mean, listen, Tucker Carlson, he wrote a book, and I'm sure, he back in the day, he used to write a lot of articles. I don't know how many articles he writes anymore, but the stuff that we know of Tucker Carlson, it's not as if like we're going off a leak and it's someone close to Tucker Carlson reports that he had said this, right? What we know of Tucker Carlson is what he looks into a camera and says, or what he publishes himself and writes. You should have the firsthand source right there. In fact, you'd think if you're doing this job, not only would you have it, you'd have it with you. So that if he ever says I didn't say it, you could cite, well, right here is where you said it. Except the problem is she's just making this up. He never said it. And the idea, the goal here is to go in with these kind of gotcha tactics where you've already implanted the idea in people's heads that this is a racist guy. And then it's like, hey, I'm just asking you about why you're a racist guy. And it's like, I didn't say that. You're like, whoa, you're getting defensive here, racist guy. You know, like that's the tactic. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Moink. I love this company. Moink delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef, lamb, pasteurized pork, chicken, and sustainably wild-caught Alaskan salmon straight to your door. Moink farmers farm like our grandparents did, and as a result, Moink meat tastes like it should because the family farm does it better. The Moink difference is a difference you can taste, and you can feel good knowing you're helping family farms stay financially independent. You choose the meats delivered in every box. You can choose from ribeyes, chicken breasts, pork chops, salmon fillets, and much more. Plus, you can cancel anytime. If you're anything like me, you don't trust the meat at your supermarket, even your local butcher. You don't know where that stuff's coming from. Buying directly from a family farm is the way to go, and that's where Moink comes in. Keep American farmers going by signing up at moinkbox.com/POTP right now. And listeners of this show get 2 free steaks in your first box. The best steak you'll ever taste, 2 of them for free, but just for a limited time. Go to moinkbox.com/POTP. That's moinkbox.com/POTP. All right, let's get back into the show. Anyway, let's keep playing.
You to cite that because I'm pretty sure I haven't said that. I said native-born Americans are being replaced, including blacks.
Native-born Americans.
Native-born Americans. And Americans who, like black Americans, have been African Americans, have been in the United States for, in many cases, their families over 400 years, and their concerns are every bit as real and valid and alive to me as the concerns of white people whose families have been there 400 years. So I've never said that whites are being replaced. Not one time. And you can't cite it.
Untrue.
So we just met, but when our relationship starts with a lie.
Already. Even to say, I believe that's untrue. It's your job. The most basic thing of your job is, no, you don't believe. You either know or you don't know. You opened with a statement that was, you've said X. And he goes, I've never said X. You go, I don't believe that's true. Well, why are we going off believe? Again, this isn't 3 sources close to Tucker Carlson said that he said X. Either he said it or he didn't. You can have the proof for this, but you don't because he didn't. It's just insane. It's like Kathy Newman level of just like insanity. All right, let's keep playing.
We just met, but when our relationship starts with a lie, it makes it tough to be friends. So
you've been lying
let's
about
pull
my
that back. I'm happy to explain what I do think. Well, you actually can't say it because I didn't say it, and I don't believe it, and I'm telling you that to your face. So why don't you just accept me at face value? My concern is that the people who are born in the country are the main responsibility of its leaders. And as noted earlier, when those leaders shift their concern from the people whose responsibility it is to take care of to people around the world to put their priorities above that of their own citizens, that's immoral. And they are being replaced in my country, people who were born in the United States. And the birth rate tells the whole story. They are not at replacement rate. And so the U.S. population is growing because we're importing people from other countries. And my view is that happy people have children, and a functioning economy allows them to do that. And we don't have that. And so you need to fix the economy and fix the culture and make it so that people who want to have kids can. You don't just go for the quick sugar fix of importing new people. Like, that's my position. And if you think that's racist, that's your problem.
I never called you a racist.
But of course you are.
Pause it right there. Isn't that just beautiful? I mean, what a, like, the level of smugness and dishonesty. It's just so despicable. I never called you racist. I mean, yeah, technically you didn't get up there and say you're a racist, but obviously that's the basis of the question. Like, come on. What would you object to about someone saying the whites are being replaced? You'd object to the fact that it's racist. That's why you changed what he said to that thing, so that you could paint it as racist. And isn't it amazing? I mean, and look, this is like my ultimate conclusion from this video is like one of strong optimism. You're like, just what a beautiful world we're living in, where these bullshit tactics are totally being exposed and falling apart. But I do think it's worth people. And this was, by the way, something that goes back to many years ago. When I say many years ago, whatever, 8 years ago, something like that. I think it was around 2017 when I interviewed a couple of the alt-right guys at the time, when that was kind of like a bit of a thing that was being talked about. And, a lot of people got hysterical about it and threw a hissy fit. Oh, Dave's being chummy with these guys. He's having friendly conversations with them. And look, for my defense to that always was like, hey, this was done on my podcast. Nobody who listens to my podcast is confused about where I stand on the issues. I'm pretty clear about like what my political philosophy is, what I believe should be done. But I got to admit, even though I completely disagreed with a lot of those guys' conclusions and found them to be distasteful and oftentimes just goofy. Like, I don't know what to, if you're arguing that the United States of America ought to be a white ethno state, what do you even do with that? It's so just absurd on its face. And of course, wrong. But they seem to be the only group of people who were talking about any of these issues. And so now it's become this thing where if anyone addresses any of these issues, they immediately just try to say you're racist. But really take a step back and think about what Tucker Carlson's saying. The question of crumbling birth rates is a pretty profound question. You could argue the most profound thing a society could be going through. That like, oh, your society isn't reproducing. Like, they're not reproducing at a sustainable level. That has been what human beings have been doing for their entire existence under much worse circumstances than we have today. It's an interesting question. It's an interesting thing to talk about. Why is it that our society is not making more people the way they almost always have? It's a really interesting question. And then for Tucker to point out that that's happening while we're having the highest levels of immigration that we've ever had, that is interesting. And you have a right to have an opinion on that. And to have an opinion on that and someone say, no, you're just a bigot. That's what it is. That's what it all whittles down to. Probably not the most charitable interpretation of that. I don't know. Any other thoughts, Rob?
When you watch someone who's great at something, it looks easy. And it's wild the amount of skill that this takes from Tucker and the ability to sit there calmly and completely dismantle this, because it's tough when someone sits there and they accuse you of something and then you go, well, do you have evidence of that? And then you continue and they go, well, you're lying. What do you mean I'm lying? Like, I'm actually, let me just tell you what my opinion is. And then he's got an opinion that I think everyone in the world could listen to and go, oh yeah, this is a very important question for us to address. But she's so certain of, hey, I'm going to have this gotcha moment. And like she needs to, I don't know what the rest of this lady's career looks like. I feel like this is just being younger and out of college, where the narrative is supposed to be, hey, that guy's white and he's talking about these things, so he must be a racist and we have to call him out for it. But I wish we saw these moments like this all the time, and it's because people aren't as skilled as Tucker that this isn't every single conversation we see on the news.
Dude, you're 100% right. And I can tell you, having some experience, not exactly in the situation that Tucker's in right now, but having experience with things like that, like hostile interviews, kind of like people trying to ask these gotcha questions when you're on camera and a lot of people are watching and you have to like in real time react to it. Like, I've been in situations like that before. And there's, as you said, like with all of these things, like with anyone who's great at anything, I'm saying Tucker's great, not myself. But for anyone who's like great at something, they always make it look easy. Michael Jordan made it look easy. I mean, maybe it didn't look like you could like, jump as high as him or something like that. But like little moves he would make that you just be like, oh, that looks so easy. It's like, it's not, it takes a lot of work. You just like got to be really, really good at that. Like there's someone who's so good at that, you couldn't believe it. And they're still nowhere near as good as this guy is at that. And one of the things that's very challenging is that so you're on the spot, someone's lying about you. So right away, it's like this very aggressive posture, and you can have this instinct to like want to fight with this person. But if you get angry, then it just looks like you're defensive, and then like that comes off bad. There's also this there's this weird social psychological thing that we all have in us where you don't want, like she's trying to call you out in front of a group of people as your bad person. And there's something very deep rooted in all of us to not want to be that. I don't want to be seen as bad by everyone. By, like in our monkey brains or whatever, like you're just in front of your tribe. Like you may on some level know that it's like, oh, there's like an audience out there, but you're on a very visceral level, you're standing up in front of the tribe and someone's trying to call you out for being bad. And so you want to rush back to the middle of the pack. You have to kind of fight that. And then you have to, in all of this chaos, be able to like pick apart what exactly they just said and what the flaw is in that, and then give it back to them in a way that's going to be compelling to the group of people around you. It's a trickier thing than it seems like. And yeah, Tucker Carlson is just masterful.
What she's doing, because being called a racist is, that we don't really like that in our society. People don't like racists. It's a pretty bad claim. Mm-hmm. You might as well be starting a conversation. Is it true that in your private time you like to touch kids? Excuse me? Like, why are you asking me? Because it inserts into the narrative and puts you on the defensive of having to address whether or not you like touching kids.
You've talked many times about touching your kids, and I was like, no, I was talking about like playing with my kids. And they're like, okay, I don't think that's true, but okay, let's just keep going. And you're like, wait, what? No, we're not going to keep going after that. That's like a crazy. We need to correct the record. Yeah. Okay. Here, let's keep playing.
That's your problem.
I never called you a racist.
But of course you are suggesting. And well, I must say, one of the reasons people don't like people like you in the media is that you never say exactly what you mean. Your slurs are all by implication. And you're about to tell me the great replacement theory is racist or anti-Semitic, whatever. I've said what I've said to you right now like 100 times in public. I hope to, if I live long enough, say it 100 more times. I think it's completely honest and real, not racist or scary. It's factually true. It's not a theory. It's a fact. And the whole point of your question was to be like, you're a scary racist.
Well, I haven't.
And my response is, no, I'm not. Okay, well, how about no more lying in your questions, and then I'll answer it.
Okay. Well, this is the same theory, or as you say, idea, that has inspired the New York Buffalo shooting.
Just pause it for a second. It's not. This is what's so masterful about it. He calls her shot, and she still walks into it. She goes, I wasn't calling you racist at all. I wasn't saying anything. You didn't even let me finish my question. And he's like, well, yeah, but you're about to connect this to some overall racist view. And she's like, oh, can I just finish my question? This is the same theory that the racist shooter had in Buffalo. I mean, dude, how pathetic. First off, she's lied about what he said. I love that he called her out. He goes, this is why people don't like people like you. And it's totally true. This is why people are rejecting the corporate journalists, if you can call them that. And then it's immediately to this next thing of like, oh, this racist person also did that. Again, we've dealt with this argument before. It's just so stupid. It's so stupid. I mean, remember when there was that Bernie Sanders supporter who shot up the baseball field, the congressman, Rand Paul was there when it happened. Scalise, I think, was the other guy, or whatever. But he shot it up. It's like, me and you would never dream of, if we were debating a democratic socialist, going, hey, your ideas are so dangerous. This mass shooter crazy guy was a democratic socialist. Because that's the worst argument ever. It's just so pathetic. Like, what? So I'm not allowed to speak anymore? If I'm against the wars and I say, hey, I'm against the wars, and then some anti-war guy goes and like blows up some Pentagon building or something like that, that's on me because I oppose the war. So I guess we're no longer allowed to dissent at all. Now, of course, none of this ever applies to your views, Miss Reporter Lady, right? You're allowed to say whatever you want to. You know, like if there was some black guy who kills a white guy, like some type of like racist crime, I don't think you're ever allowed to come back and go, you know, you call everybody racist, and then this one black guy was so convinced everybody was racist that he went out and killed people. There's plenty of examples of that, but we're never going to apply that to her. We're just going to apply it to Tucker. If you ever talk about how immigrants are bad, you own what some lone crazy racist person did.
You've been an advocate for the LGBTQ, and last year, trans shootings were on the rise. We've had 2 incidents, a massive increase in the danger of violent trans shooters. Are you willing to condemn the gay pride parade?
Oh yeah, you're on the hook for every pedophile or something like that. If you've ever advocated for, you know what I mean, like any of this stuff, it's like, this is goofy. It's not a serious line of argumentation. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Lumen. Lumen is the first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat, carbs, and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and even stress management. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it after workouts and meals so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time, and Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns food you eat into fuel that keeps you going. And because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, etc. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/problem to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/problem for 15% off your purchase. Thanks to Lumen for sponsoring the show. Let's get back into it. Anyway, let's keep playing.
Come on. You know what I mean?
Americans were killed. Like, it's also inspired.
It's not, first of all.
It's inspired one of the worst Australian guns of all time.
How do they get people this stupid in the media? I guess it doesn't pay well. Look, I'm sorry. I've lived among people like you for too long, and I don't mean to call you stupid. Maybe you're just pretending to be, but I'm totally against violence. I'm totally against the war in Ukraine, for example, which doubtless you support. And like all dutiful liberals, support more carnage. I don't. I hate mass shootings, actually. Nothing I said, what does it mean to inspire something? My views are not bigoted against any group. They're honest. They're factual. That's not hate. That's reality. And my views derive from my deep concern for Americans, actually. Americans aren't having kids because they can't afford to. And nobody in charge cares. And so that's my position. That doesn't inspire mass shootings. How dare you try to tie me to some lunatic who murdered people? How dare you, actually? And in fact, I mean, do you know what I mean? I'd be like, Hitler wore those shoes. A lot of people are saying that you're like Hitler. Can you explain those shoes? Hitler wore exactly the same shoes, and you're like, I've got nothing to do with Hitler. Well, that's how I feel about your absurd, disingenuous question.
Right, so therefore you support gun control?
What? I thought it could get dumber, but it did.
Dude, pause it right there. Tucker's line, I thought it couldn't get any dumber, but it did, is that was literally a Kathy Newman moment. So you support gun control because that's the binary that you either, now that you've made it clear that you oppose mass shootings, now that you've come out against mass shootings, so obviously you support gun control because that's the debate, right? The people who love innocent people getting murdered and those who support gun control. And again, I mean, as Tucker, I think he says at one point, he says, I don't mean to say you're this stupid. You might just be pretending to be. To be clear, she is pretending to be. This person isn't this stupid. That's not. And I do think that even though, by the way, Tucker handles this masterfully, and it makes sense in his moment to point out how stupid this line of questioning is. But as people who aren't in that moment right now, I'd probably say the same thing if I were him. It's the right thing to say. But as someone who's just kind of dissecting this from a studio across the world, it's like, just to be clear, this isn't stupidity. That's not what it is. This woman isn't so dumb that she can't possibly fathom that there isn't a binary between loving murder and loving gun control. Believe me, she's not that stupid. This is all tactics. That's what it is. She's been trained in this, like, it's almost like if there was a sniper who's been trained to assassinate people and you were like, oh, this guy must be really stupid because this is going to end up killing someone. It's like, no, that's the point. He's not being stupid. It's just unlike a trained sniper, her tactics are really weak and they're being exposed now.
It's you know what this is? It's a sales call. She's got her sales script. She's supposed to go out and ask these specific questions, and she hangs up the phone, and the manager goes, "All right, you couldn't close that guy." And the close here was getting him. But they'll play that exact same script on somebody else because sometimes people aren't as good as Tucker Carlson. They don't see through it. They don't know how to maneuver around it, and they get them. So they'll continue to run with this script. She did her job. It's not like she's going to lose her job. It's not like whatever newspaper she works for goes, "Oh, you idiot, you couldn't handle that. You came in unprepared." It's like she had specific training of these are the style questions you're supposed to ask to try and generate a gotcha moment. And Tucker, turns out, didn't work on Tucker. Couldn't close him. He was too slick. But, you know, just get on the next call. Next journalist that comes here, go ask these same exact questions. You might be able to get them in a bad moment.
Yep, exactly. Here, let's keep playing.
No, I don't support disarming law-abiding people so they can't defend themselves. So the government has a monopoly on violence? I don't think so. First of all, in my country, that's illegal, as you know. But moreover, it should be illegal in every country. A sovereign person has the right to defend himself and his family. Period. And that said, I'm totally opposed to harming anyone. Anyone. Have you been calling? Are you concerned about the war in Ukraine and the countless innocents being murdered there every single day? I doubt you are. Probably Putin bad. I am. I'm a Christian. I hate violence. I hate mass shootings. I have guns at home and often on my person when I'm in the United States, I'm proud to say, because I want to defend myself and those I love against violence. That's the point. I'm not perpetrating crimes. I'm not shooting strangers. I'm defending what I love. And if you're against that, I guess I would ask why. Why would you be against that?
Well, so you don't think you harbor any kind of responsibility for these hate crimes?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be charitable.
Just ask once more for the close. That's what that is.
Maybe you're just pretending to be dumb. Now I don't think it's an act.
So just to be clear, that's and that's the end of the video, but that's the part I was referring to, that it's a great last line by Tucker. He's not right about that. She is just pretending to be. It is an act. It's not real. She's not really that stupid. It's just one last pathetic attempt to, like, let me tie you to mass shootings. Just so, like, genuinely, I can't put into words how disgusting that person is. It's just like, how do you leave here and not just feel terrible about yourself? It boggles my mind. I will say the thing, as I alluded to before, well, I just love that you've got a guy like Tucker who is so talented at this and so popular that he's got so much support that it's just turns into everyone in the room, before he can even respond, they're laughing at her. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, there are still X percentage of the population that are fooled by the corporate media, that are propagandized by them, or that want to buy into it and kind of more knowingly go into this kind of like attack Tucker Carlson mode. Anyone who criticizes immigration, let's just call them racist. But there just is no question that there are huge numbers of people who are waking up to this bullshit and, like, find it despicable, as they should. And I just find that really encouraging. It's really encouraging. Like, we do have some data on this stuff. We know the number of people who listen to Tucker Carlson versus the number of people who listen to CNN, let's say, or Joe Rogan versus MSNBC or something like that. And it is just really encouraging to see so many people wake up. You know, forget just politics or the presidential election or anything like that. But, like, we've got to live in a society here. And the more people we have who are not this level of insane, the better. That would be my final comment on it. But just a beautiful, just a priceless moment from Tucker Carlson. I'm personally grateful to him for it. Okay, there's one other video that I got sent a lot this week that I thought would be kind of interesting to respond to. Bill Maher on his show a couple days ago had a rant kind of about the generational dynamics in the United States of America and kind of the boomers versus the Gen Z people. And this is something we've talked a lot about on this show. And obviously we see it in a different way than Bill Maher does. So I thought this would be fun to kind of to play some of this and let me and Rob respond to it. So let's start the tape.
That I make fun of them, but I don't feel too bad about it because they never engage with the idea itself. It's always just, you're old. Yeah, that's not an argument. It's a prejudice, the thing you purport to hate. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I can't look at your Queers for Palestine banner and pretend it's not idiotic, but just because something is progressive doesn't always make it progress. It's about ideas, not age. And to prove my point, tonight I'd like to talk about how mind-blowingly batshit crazy a lot of people my age are. A funny thing is happening in this election. The younger voters are liking Trump more and more, and the over 60 crowd, which normally leans Republican, is this time preferring Biden, and I think I know why. If you're my age, you've seen friends and loved ones go down a Facebook rabbit hole or get sucked into the Fox News vortex and never come back the same, transformed from a normal person into some lunatic who's hoarding survival seeds and...
Let's get them as a sponsor.
Thinks Jewish space lasers cause wildfires and...
Well, that one's true.
A form of mind control. There's a viral tweet that says, Fox News and Facebook did to our parents what they said video games would do to us.
I just pause it right there. I love that, by the way.
I think the reason
Bill Maher is going on this rant as he sits next to one of the most corrupt people in Washington, D.C. Just sitting next to that Kinsler guy and saying all this. So, there seems, first of all, obviously there's a very interesting dynamic that Bill Maher lays out there, which is true, at least according to the polls, that young people are trending more toward Trump and that older people are trending more toward Biden. Now, of course, to be clear, that's not the young people still prefer Biden and older people still prefer Trump, but the trends are moving in that direction. And then Bill Maher posits, I guess, a hypothesis as to why this might be. And he's saying it's because people in the boomer generation have seen so many of their friends fall down these crazy conspiracy rabbit holes. Now, look, there immediately does seem to be somewhat of a contradiction there. I'm not saying it's like a blatant contradiction, but there is something where you're like, well, I thought your whole point is that boomers are trending more toward Biden. So if they're trending more toward Biden, how big of a problem is it that they're falling down the right-wing conspiracy rabbit holes?
No, I think well, firstly, I'll tell you why old people are going for Biden. It's because he's inspiring that maybe they can work while they have dementia too. You know, it's just the inspiring story that maybe as an old person, incompetent, unable to perform their job, people will let them continue to do it and have their dignity. But I think he's saying the opposite. I think that old people, and I think what he's saying is that old people are watching young people get radicalized, and so they have more of an interest in Biden, who will engage in potentially tech censorship or otherwise. I don't know that it's specifically tech censorship.
No, he's saying they did to our parents' generation. He's saying people my age have watched their friends. He's saying boomers, because of Facebook and Fox News, have fallen down this crazy thing where they're trying to get their whatever, the prep seeds and stuff like that ready, because now they're these like crazy prepper types. And like, I just, there is something about, I don't know, it's a dynamic that comes up kind of often. Even in stuff like when you see the corporate media, talking about how there's all this disinformation online, all these conspiracy theorists. And when you see, Bill Maher making this point, I was talking about this, and I just did a Ukraine debate on Breaking Points, and I was kind of making this point there too, that it's so wild to see people hyper focused on what like the other side is doing wrong without having an ounce of self-reflection, without having an ounce of like, okay, but why is that You know what I mean? Like, why is this prepper stuff becoming so popular? You know, one of the things I was talking about, because my debate opponent, Vaush, in this debate, talked about how Putin what was an expansionist threat. And he's like, oh, look, you know, he had the war in Chechnya, he had the war in Georgia, and look at now the war in Ukraine. And I was talking about how, and I prefaced it by saying something along the lines of like, and I think this is true for relationships, whether it's like a marriage or a business relationship or a friendship or anything like that. It's always the tendency is always to kind of focus on what the other person did. Like if there's a conflict, to focus on what the other person did and what the other person did wrong, whether it's your friend or your wife or your business partner. If there's some type of conflict, the easiest baseline response is always to focus on like what they did. Well, you did this and that pissed me off. And I don't like that you did this and this and this. But if you're in a successful relationship, again, friendship, business partnership, marriage, whatever, what you develop is kind of the tools or the ability to go like, all right, let me think about what I did. Let me think about what role I'm playing in this. Like, yes, I didn't like that you did that, but I also understand that that was a response to me doing that. That's like when you have a more successful relationship. And I said to him, I go, think about how ridiculous this is to refer to Vladimir Putin as expansionist when literally at the fall of the Soviet Union, we drew the line down the Elbe River through the middle of Germany. And the east of that was the Soviets, and west of that was the Western democracies. And now we've moved the line all the way over to Russia's borders, and we're going, look, he's expansionist. Like, what? How can you say that with a straight face? Anyway, likewise, to the Bill Maher thing, imagine in the year 2024 going, hey, Rob, people are like trying to keep supplies of food in their homes. Where'd they get this kooky idea from? And not at least go like, oh yeah, that's right. We did shut the world down. That did happen. That might also, we did shut the world down while we lied through our teeth about why we were doing it when we did it for completely bullshit reasons. Maybe that's why someone is listening to a survivalist channel. Maybe that's why they're more popular. I mean, I don't know. I don't think of myself as a wacky conspiracy theorist. I don't think I'm like an unhinged person. I'm a pretty regular guy with a nice career and a nice family. I have supplies in a way that I never had before. I think about that much more now than I ever did so years before. And I was even in the libertarian world where we're always kind of connected to like some preppers and some doomsday type guys. But I never really was like, took that stuff very seriously. Now I'm pretty interested in making sure that I have food and generators and extra gasoline and extra supplies and the means to protect those supplies. Yeah, that's something I think about a lot more now because I don't know, the world seems a lot more unstable and I got little kids, so I got to make sure they're protected. I don't think it's because I was propagandized into this. I think if anything, I was radicalized by the establishment. Anyway, let's keep playing the video a little.
Biden is winning seniors is we want our friends back. We all have that uncle or grandparent or in-law or favorite TV star or movie star who used to be an everyday reasonable citizen but now forwards emails in all caps about election conspiracies and QAnon conspiracies and what 5G is really going to be used for and what's going on in the basement of Hillary's pizza parlor and how the reptilian shadow government is threatening to turn everyone gay by putting fluoride in the Budweiser. A popular political book once asked, what's the matter with Kansas? Today we have to ask, what's the matter with Grandma? We've watched too many friends disappear into this weird black hole. Many are married to Supreme Court justices.
Look, by the way, look who he's got next to him on the goddamn panel. Is it just unbelievable? Oh man, why are people buying into these conspiracies so much? Literally next to you, you've got one guy who literally was instrumental in trying to convince the entire country that Russia had overthrown our government and installed an agent of Vladimir Putin. And the other one sent COVID positive patients into nursing homes against the request of the nursing homes. And you're sitting there in between these two guys going, why does everyone believe in conspiracies all of a sudden? Isn't it so nice when you're Bill Maher, when you're just like a multi-millionaire, you know, within the establishment world, to be like, guys, stop questioning this world so much. Come on, it's fine. And then, of course, it's easy to make fun of people and to just bring up the most ridiculous of the conspiracies, you know? Oh, they think Jew lasers are shooting everywhere. There are some people who believe in goofy conspiracy theories. Overall, over the last 4 years, if you wanted to take the track record of your two guests, of Andrew Cuomo and Kinslinger or whatever his name is, if you want to take their track record and put it up against your average conspiracy theorist's track record, I'd put all of my money on the conspiracy theorist 100 out of 100 times. I might lose like 5 out of 100, but I'm winning the other 95.
Yeah, it's infuriating because they did this. I want to be careful with my words here. I just got a strike on my YouTube channel, which was shocking. But in calling the COVID vaccine a vaccine, you then left a lot of people questioning vaccines in general. If you hadn't called it that, no one, people that otherwise weren't investigating it. I think there's a lot of people that are a little bit more distrustful than with government. And, because you would have thought the branch of government that's responsible for health, I can at least trust that branch of government. And how many things have they just bold-faced lied to us on where now it's like the range of information you have to sift through to try and find truth. I did a joke. You can I think 2022 end of year misinformation spectacular or whatever thing, my end of year recap about trying to figure out information now of the range of what, they'll tell you on mainstream media or corporate press versus if you go to Twitter. And it's a similar joke to him of just how outlandish the scope of information is if you're trying to sift through truth. But they did this to us because they were dishonest. And so now if you're just trying to figure out, well, what the hell is going on, you've got to sift through the extremes of the conspiracies online of, hey, the earth is flat and there's holes to the center of the earth and there's lizard people and the aliens are here because, you can't just turn on your TV and have the comfort of, oh, this guy's telling me the truth about diseases in the world.
Yeah, I say this as somebody, and to everybody who listens to this show, I think right, that I don't think I'm being inaccurate when I say that, like, as you could probably tell, like maybe you've never heard me talk about this before, but you could probably tell just from listening to this show, I'm not a fan of sloppy conspiracy theorists. Like, I don't like just throwing stuff at the wall and say, there's a lot of guys who do that. The most famous, of course, is Alex Jones. I don't really like that stuff. I don't like just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. Every wild theory, let's treat it like it's true. I think that Alex Jones gets a lot of credit amongst certain groups for the things he got right, and that, fair enough, he deserves that. But a lot of the people who love him don't look at all the things he got wrong. And there were a lot of them, like a lot of wild conspiracies that he went all in on. We know this is true. I have the papers. We can prove. They just turned out completely not to be true. We don't really do that. I don't do sensational like conspiracies just for the clicks or like, I like things that I can prove. I think if you look at any of the kind of like theories we've had on this show for the last many years now, I'm sure there's a few that we've gotten wrong, but overwhelmingly we've been right about the most important issues. And we haven't just been off on wild conspiracy theories. Okay. But that being said, to have somebody, especially sitting between Cuomo and this other guy, to be like denigrating people who believe in wild conspiracies. I know I've used this example before, but it is like, it is like if you were like cheating on your wife constantly and lying to her about it and constantly. And then she comes to you one day, you were out and didn't answer the phone, but you weren't cheating that day. You were just out and didn't answer the phone. And she's like, I know you were cheating. I know you were out there with some other girl. I know you were doing this. It's like, okay, even though she might be wrong in this instance, she's kind of right on some more gut level, right? Like she knows you're lying and you're cheating and okay, she's wrong. But for you to turn around that time and go, oh, she's a wild conspiracy theorist. She thinks I was out with 3 girls last night. I wasn't at all. It's like, no, people smell that you're full of shit. And now they're more willing to listen to anyone who's saying you're full of shit. And you can sit here and just mock the times that they listen to someone who's not getting it right, and oftentimes by someone who's being very sloppy or is a charlatan or something like that. But still, how can you not look at it in that situation and go, why does this wife assume her husband's cheating on him? And go, oh, because he is. That's why. Because she has every reason to have lost trust in this marriage. It's just like, it's disgusting to watch them just pick on, people this way. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Prolon. These days, a lot of people are learning about all the benefits of fasting, like weight loss, mental and physical performance, gut health, but people worry about the whole not eating part. Well, that's exactly why Prolon was created. Prolon, a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe they're fasting. Researched and developed for decades at the University of Southern California Longevity Institute and backed by leading U.S. medical centers, Prolon helps promote healthy blood sugar, supports cardiovascular health, and reduces abdominal fat. But Prolon isn't a diet. Prolon is science. Science based on Nobel Prize winning discoveries in medicine. And this all starts with Prolon's 5-day program. Snacks, soups, and beverages, all designed to keep your body in a fasting state. It's unlike anything you've ever experienced. And right now, Prolon is offering Part of the Problem listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program. Everybody I know who's really into health and nutrition, and I know some people who are really into that stuff, they all talk about this intermittent fasting stuff. So you got to go check this out because this is really interesting. And right now, Prolon is offering Part of the Problem listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program. That's prolonlife.com/PTP. to get 15% off their 5-day nutrition program. All right, let's get back into the show. All right, let's keep playing.
2 days after the 2020 election, Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, who met Clarence back in the 1980s when they did porn together, she forwarded a text to the Chief of Staff of the President of the United States saying that she heard that the Biden crime family and ballot fraud co-conspirators were going to be taken to barges off Guantanamo Bay to face military tribunals. And then she wrote, I hope this is true. Yes, and I hope you get checked for lead poisoning.
All right, so just pause it right there. Think about how pathetic this is. Like how much you have to hit the bottom of the barrel before he's going, a Supreme Court justice's wife bought into a goofy conspiracy theory. What? I've never, in the history of me following politics, ever heard anyone bring up the political opinions of a Supreme Court justice's husband or wife. Never heard that. Can any of you remember a time that became an issue? That's what you're going to as you sit as the guy who sent COVID positive patients into nursing homes giggles with you. Oh, these people believe anything about the criminal nature of politicians. It's just so ridiculous. No, that's the topic to talk about when you have Andrew Cuomo there. Is to talk about how dumb some lady, some civilian lady's take is? But what, because she's married to a conservative justice who you don't like? So you're going to try to smear her to get him? Who cares what text she sent? Who cares what she believes? What is, okay. Here's the thing. Any adult who wants to have the important conversation, all these people tend to believe the political class is criminal. Huh. Why do they believe that? Well, I've got a couple members of the political class here. Oh yeah, they're both clearly criminals. Okay. Like, what is this? Just mock people for having the theory wrong? It's just like ridiculous. Again, while Andrew Cuomo was saying that anyone who didn't want to destroy the country was killing grandma, he was literally killing grandmas. But oh my God, Clarence Thomas's wife is goofy. That's the story. That's the big one that really matters. I don't know. What can you say about this, Rob?
I think we can all trust that Clarence Thomas is smart enough not to listen to his wife. Guy made it all the way to the Supreme Court. You think he's at home and he's listening to his wife and that's what's changing his mind? Come on.
Oh, jeez. All right.
I mean, and also, what a standard that if you're a professional and, and your wife's gone batshit crazy, like that you're responsible or that influences your decisions at your CEO job or otherwise.
And not even like, by the way, I don't even know how they got this, but not even gave a speech or wrote an op-ed, but sent a text message.
Yeah, I don't know the context of that. It could have even been a joke for all we know.
But I just mean, but even if she's serious, I just mean, it's not like she was putting this out there to the world as like, here's an argument. The Thomas family stands behind this. This is the piece. But it's nothing like that. A text message.
Also, good for Clarence Thomas. He's got a white, crazy bitch wife. That's like... You know how much fun she must be? Like, he spends the whole week and he's got to read through all these papers, and then he gets to go home and party with this lady.
Yeah,
she's probably a good time.
People say the American dream's dead, but look, Clarence Thomas, he's living it. All right, let's keep playing.
Then there's America's Karen, Martha Ann Alito, wife of Justice Samuel Alito, who holds a master's degree in library science and yet has devoted her life to waging war against neighborhood lawn signs. Martha Ann rants about getting even with the media, not realizing that now kooks like her are the media. A recent study found that a mere 2,100 people accounted for spreading 80% of the fake news on Twitter during the last election, and most of them were older, white, Republican women.
Oh, well, here, pause it right there. Let me explain that for you. This statistic is complete bullshit. Who measured fake news? Like, what is this? The entire corporate media lined up to tell us that Hunter Biden's laptop was a Russian op. I bet, let me just take a wild guess, that didn't get counted as fake news in this survey. Just shut it. This is just all so stupid. Now, I mean, again, he's talking about during the election, so that's why I went to the Hunter Biden one. But come on, in 2020, the greatest purveyors of misinformation, and more importantly, misinformation that had catastrophic ramifications. Come on.
I agree with Bill corporate media. Old white women are not worth listening to. I agree. Just come out and say it. Like, let's be dismissive of women past their prime. Come on, honestly, Bill Maher. Bill
Maher is pushing the idea that old white women should be listened to. And that's the most discredited conspiracy theory on the face of the earth. What, are you out of your mind, Bill Maher? Why are you pushing this idea that any of these opinions matter? But again, it's just so crazy to me that the examples are spouses of justices. That is just so goofy. All right, let's keep playing.
The Russian troll bot army, and it's your Aunt Bonnie. That's who it is. Yentas who post all day, and it's always a retweet, and it's always wrong. They watch lies on TV and believe it because it's TV, and then post it to their friends who believe it because it's Facebook. And it's not just
pause for a second. It's such a wild perspective to pretend that only Fox News exists.
Yeah,
it's like he's living in a world where every channel is Fox News, and so he's the one dissenter commentating on the fact that we live in a culture where every old lady watches Fox News and has crazy extreme Republican opinions.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, and he had when Russell Brand was on his show and called out that MSNBC guy to his face and was like, well, why is it that, or maybe it was a CNN guy. He was like, what lie did CNN spread? And he goes, Joe Rogan was taking horse dewormer. And even Bill Maher was like, he does have a point on that. You guys did what? Like, I mean, look, Fox News is, I'm not defending Fox News. I mean, Fox News is terrible on a lot of different issues. And they're certainly, if you judge them over the last 20 or 30 years, they've been like a propaganda farm that has pushed out tons of misinformation. But okay. CNN and NBC and ABC and the AP and the New York Times and the Washington Post and Reuters and all these places exist too. They've all been guilty of it. Freaking Glenn Greenwald had to leave The Intercept, which Glenn Greenwald founded. He had to leave it because they were so freaking one-sided and propagandistic. What are we talking about here?
It's a weird game that both Fox and CNN like to pretend like the other one doesn't exist, or that they don't exist.
That they don't exist.
The only one.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's keep playing.
But also X, formerly known as Twitter, and Fox News, formerly known as News. A study once found that using the Fox News website as a news source made you less informed than watching no news at all. It's the Ozempic of knowing things.
Not a bad joke. Oh, Ozempic, it's like you're not, the idea is like you're not really getting healthy. Like you're not really learning things. You feel like you're diet and exercising.
On Ozempic and you're over the age of 65. You're saying that that's not a net positive?
I don't know enough about the science. You overthink these things. All right, let's keep playing.
And still not as bad as the news finds me people. Yeah, that's the growing cohort of Americans who believe that if a story is important enough, it will find its way to their social media feed. Yeah, these are people who trust their Facebook friends to watch Hannity for them. But here's the thing. With kids, when they get lost to the insanity of social media, we can, and increasingly schools, districts are doing this, taking away their phones for at least part of the day. But you can't take away a 70-year-old's phone. You can just make the text smaller. So we have to figure out why so many seniors are so susceptible to fake news. Now, part of it is, unlike the kids, they didn't grow up with bullshit media, corporate-funded, narrative-driven, and completely partisan. So when that came along, they had no immunity for it. Boomers, we grew up with old-school Time magazine and Walter Cronkite. Closest thing to fake news back then was pretending Liberace was looking for a woman.
Let's just pause it for a second. Like, dude, you guys got lied into the Vietnam War. That you got look at the Kennedy assassination and the whole cover up of that thing. I mean, you guys got lied to about all of the most important shit. Don't give me this. This is such a ridiculously blue-pilled, ignorant fucking take. Fake news is new. Misinformation is new. And why? Like, it's one of these things. You know, it reminds me a little bit of some of the arguments that the hardcore Zionists will make when they'll be like, they'll be like, well, I mean, they lie about the history. So they'll be like, oh, the Palestinians aren't mad that we kicked them out of their homes. I mean, sure, they all still go around holding their keys to those homes, but it's not the fact that we kicked them out of their homes and then we started living in them themselves. It's not the fact that we kicked them onto refugee camps. It's not the fact that we militarily occupied those refugee camps. It's just that they hate Jews and they hate a Jewish state, and they're so possessed by, and look, Egypt doesn't want them either, and Jordan doesn't want them either, and look, nobody wants them. They're just these and like the implication is that I guess they're just so possessed by evil that, you know what I mean? Like, I guess that's it. It's like, why in Bill Maher's worldview did people turn away from the corporate media? He's talking about older people. Why is it that they turned away from just trusting NBC nightly news? Why is it? Is it just because they're so stupid and dangerous, and or is it that those guys lost their trust? And the truth is that this is all the wrong way to look at it. Well, back in the day, the thing is, they just never developed any mechanism by which to deal with fake news, because they grew up in a world where all news was true. Right. I mean, listen, by the way, the fact that we were lied into the Vietnam War, we don't have time now. We're running out of time here, but we can talk about it some other time. This is, by the way, go look into it. Blatantly lied into the war, as much, if not more, than WMDs in Iraq. Just lied. So what do you mean the news never got it wrong? They lied into a war where millions of Vietnamese and Cambodians were killed, and tens of thousands of American soldiers got killed after being conscripted into a lie that was based off of lies, sold off of lies. What? What do you mean the news never got anything wrong? Anyway, this is why we'll wrap it up there, but this is why Bill Maher gets his whole worldview wrong, is that these guys still do on a fundamental level think if we just had a consolidation, like if we just still had this monopoly on the flow of information, we could make sure only the good information gets out. All you got to do is, and someone like Bill Maher, who was to some degree, not like us, but to some degree was a dissident on the COVID insanity. Like Bill Maher, what do you think would have happened if only NBC and CNN could have had control of the information during COVID? Would that have been better or worse? I'll take the fact that we have to deal with some wild conspiracy theories out there to say at least you could have voices telling the truth out there too. All right, we're going to wrap up on that. Rob will be out. You're out this weekend, you said, right, Rob?
PorchTour.com. All sorts of dates all summer long. Come hang out. PorchTour.com,
ComicDaveSmith.com, and of course, go check out Run Your Mouth, Rob's fantastic podcast. All right, thanks for listening. Catch you guys next time. Peace.